All right, got a video here for you guys. I know it's been a little while since I posted one. It turns out this shit's a lot more difficult than I had anticipated it to be. You know, you see somebody sitting on the other side of the camera just yammering away, and it's like, oh shit, that's got to be pretty fucking easy. Well, maybe easy's not the right word. So this one's going to be all about abortion. Before we get into that lovely topic, though, I hope you like the fire. I'm realizing that my setup, I guess, isn't very conducive to having this involved, but we're going to try and force it anyway. And I want to start off by addressing the elephant in the room because, you know, if you've been around for a while, first of all, thank you very much. But you probably remember one of my first videos, I think. It has since been deleted, but it was called Abortion Should Be Legal. And so the reason that I thought it should be legal is basically because as an anarcho-capitalist, I don't believe the state should exist, right? And so therefore, the logical consequence of that as my core stance would mean that, yeah, abortion should be legal because the state shouldn't be in there, you know, monkeying around with that, let alone anything else. And then this sort of simpish position I was trying to come from where it's like, oh, you know, I can't question abortion, then I'll really never get laid or fucking have children or anything. So turns out that that latter point especially is not the case. Quite the opposite, actually. And so I just didn't want you guys thinking like, oh, well, you know, Ian's out here posting shit and deleting it and then switching stances and pretending that it didn't happen. No, I mean, for most of my life, I did think abortion should be legal, probably for the same reasons that you watching this might have, notwithstanding the insane levels of vitriol that come with questioning it. You know, I even thought, why not like try and temper my usual mode of delivery to be a little bit like nicer? And it's like, fuck you, dude. You know what? All over my feed on Facebook, I see all these, and the level of anger is just unfucking believable. It's like, dude, would you chill the fuck out? All right, can we not have a civilized discussion, I guess, when it comes to the ability of women to squash the life that they bear? Civility goes out the window, which I suppose is to be expected if you're coming from the camp that thinks that you should arbitrarily be able to end what, when left unmolested, would become a fully grown human being. So now I'm actually thought it was great that Texas has decided to limit, I know it's not a ban, it's a functional ban, but in reality they're limiting access to abortion. Just because, like, yeah, sure, do I think there should be a state? Of course not. But do we live in that environment? No. Will I ever live in that environment? No. So it's cool to have principles and ideology and all this other stuff, but there's only so far you can take that because of the fundamental nature of our civilization. You know, again, as an anarcho-capitalist, I, you know, technically, in good conscience, can't drink fucking tap water or drive down the road because they're all acquired and purveyed by force and whatnot. But anyway, on to the topic of abortion. These points are in no particular order. I just kind of wrote them all up, and hopefully you guys can use them as talking points if you're ever in a discussion with somebody with this sort of topic. So I noticed that a lot of conservatives, especially if they're on the more women-hatery side, will talk about how, you know, well, it's basically all the woman's fault. And I'm inclined to agree with them just because it's like, you know, if you're having sex with a woman, if you're not raping her, she had to concede to that. There has to be her consent. So technically, it's impossible for a man to have sex with a woman without her saying it's okay, without him also being a rapist. So in that vein, you know, unsurprisingly, it kind of falls on women to be the discerners of who they sleep with, who passes on their genes to the future, and all this other stuff, which they did successfully for millennia, literally, hundreds of thousands of years, I believe. I'm not sure how far back, you know, remains of humans that would match modern day humans' DNA go back. But, you know, if it wouldn't have been for generations of women choosing the right guys, we wouldn't have had this civilization that we do now. There's a whole, I mean, I personally think it's because of the welfare state, among a lot of other things that fuck up the incentives that people use to make decisions, because at the end of the day, everybody in the US especially, or the West in general, they're all fucking trash. The men are trash, the women are fucking trash. They're idiots, they're stupid, they're fucking lazy, to a degree that's almost staggering. And so what stupid people need, because they're unable to see over the horizon of tomorrow, literally, is reality. They need reality to sort of slap them in the face and say, if you sleep with the wrong guy, you end up pregnant, you're fucked, literally. I mean, there's not going to be anybody to give you any money. You're not going to be able to attract another guy. And so what we've done in the West is introduce a system where it's like, okay, if a woman bangs the wrong guy, bangs any guy, really, she's rewarded with resources, consistent income. Sure, she's not living at the fucking Ritz-Carlton, but again, most people don't really give a shit about that. As long as they've got a roof over their head, food, a smartphone, a television, high-speed internet, which America's half the time the poorest of the poor enjoy that shit. So when you take a mechanism that otherwise worked for eons and introduce this crazy, fiat currency-induced system where now the reality of sleeping with the wrong man is essentially eliminated by the fact that the state's going to come in and play daddy, that creates an environment where we look out amongst Americans today, and not all of them, but a good amount of them just bangs anything with two legs that can ostensibly string a sentence together at least. And what's the result? Bastard kids, broken homes, and as with abortion itself, children are the fucking victim. Now that's not to excuse the men. As the saying goes, men propose and women dispose. So, if these guys weren't out here, and this is the trope that women will use, again, logically, I don't think it applies because of the whole dynamic between consent, rape, and not being a rapist. But, if the guys weren't out here trying to bang anything that walks, we wouldn't have this problem. So, that's where, again, in the West we had this, we don't anymore. Certain cultures do today, but it's like that sort of thing, the escalation that leads anybody into a situation where they're going to have sex. It's not just like you're sitting here in your fucking living room 1 second and then boom, all of a sudden you're getting banged. No, there is a chain of events that must occur. First, you got to be talking to a dude. Then you got to be hanging out with a dude. Then you got to go to a place with the guy where you could do that sort of thing. So this is already 3 things just off the top of my head. 3 things that have to happen in order for you to be in a situation where pregnancy is even likely. And that's before we even get to the myriad of sorry, it's windy as fuck outside, of different birth control options available that make this whole issue of abortion being readily available or not completely laughable. Because it's like, so you've got how many consecutive fuck-ups can we forgive on behalf of women and still look at women and say things like, yeah, I respect women. Women deserve respect. Well, really? Because to me, it seems like they deserve anything but respect because they're bailed out at every single possible, and even once they're adults and old fucks, women draw more out of the system throughout their whole lifetimes than they put in on average. So you can have one or the other. You can have masculine protection through patriarchy, or you can have unlimited free reign to just be as carnal and arguably animalistic as you want. So the next point I had was, yeah, basically they're literally paid to be fucking worthless. Men also, but men don't bear children. Men are the seeds of life, right? So women, they're literally paid to be fucking worthless by the state. I guess technically that would not be worthless because worthless is value neutral and they're actually parasites. So, but you see what I'm saying. Again, to recap what I said earlier, we create this environment where now you can fuck whoever you want with 0 consequences that accrue to you personally. Yeah, sure, the kids fucked, but in the West, humans in general, I don't think really tend to give a shit about their children. So that's a whole nother problem to be addressed. But I know a lot of the issue that the mainstream took with the Texas abortion bill being passed into law was that it bans abortions 6 weeks into the pregnancy or whatever. And a lot of people, I guess, were like, well, a woman doesn't know she's pregnant before 6 weeks. It's like, yeah, I mean, really, again, here's the thing about respecting women. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be to not have any kind of suspicion whatsoever that you might be pregnant? We all know the mechanics of sexuality when it comes to getting somebody pregnant. So what are you, a literal fucking retard when you think, well, I don't know, I've been having unprotected sex day after day, maybe once or twice. Gee, I wonder if I might be pregnant. I mean, how many IQ points does it take to string that sort of that level of thought together? It's like, gee, I had unprotected sex somehow, despite being in an era when protection is more readily available than ever before, literally ever before. On top of having the unprotected sex, you're now also going to try and play the retard card and say, well, I just didn't. Really? Do you not notice? Like, I don't know. Maybe I think women are smarter than they actually are, but to me that just sounds so fucking stupid that it blows my mind. Like you had no suspicion whatsoever. You didn't think, well, geez, homeboy didn't pull out or use rubber last night, so maybe I should go get the morning after pill, pop one of those, and think about how I make decisions. Well, no, because that requires a level of IQ that's above, I guess, what we have to deal with here in the West. Another point, kind of recapping what I had said earlier, is that idiots, which is most people, men and women, need very clear consequences for their actions. So a clear consequence to the action of accidentally getting pregnant is, in reality, you're fucked. You die. You starve. It's very terrible. That's why women tended to be very conservative about who they slept with prior to the, free pass for everybody. Just like the perverted fiat-based reality of what we deal with now is you get a free ride. Healthcare, schooling, a place to live, everything is taken care of by Uncle Sam. I'm surprised they probably are giving people TVs, I know they give people smartphones. So it's like, I don't know. And then is there a fucking car alarm going off? To be in a position where you have this kid and you've got all this shit coming in for free, to then just stay that level of loser and keep squeezing, it's just like, dude, it's fucking mind-blowing. It is fucking mind-blowing. This is a bit more technical, the next point here, because it's like a lot of it didn't disturb me before, now it really does, because it's like you'll see people, they'll be talking about fetuses, and they'll literally compare fetuses to parasites, and the logical line there is, well, it can't exist without the assistance of others. Okay, well, neither can I. Neither can the average person. Okay, you can't just go from right now as I'm sitting here in this room, or any of you watching. You can't just snap your fingers and go live in the fucking forest. That takes a lot of skill. You need other people to survive. Maybe if it's not directly, just because, hey, somebody's doing the roads, the gas, the grocery stores, the food, the fast food, everything, the water department, the goddamn electricity, the dude that split this, we all interact and work together. To bring it even more granularly, think of it like this. If you have a stone cold actual retard and, well, they can't survive on their own. Does anybody say we should kill them? I mean, some people do. Maybe these pro-abortion people, if they were logically consistent, would say, yeah, maybe we should kill retards. Or what if, your legs are broken and you can't, okay, now you are a parasite, so now it's okay to kill you? It's just the shit they say doesn't make any fucking sense. And then when you zoom out and think about the fact that they're comparing a new human life to a fucking parasite, does that not, and then you go look at the assemblies and the protests these sick fucks have, where they literally wear blood red gowns and look like people who are from the movie Eyes Wide Shut. Like, how much more, how much more ridiculous and stupid and fucked up and weird do you have to get before you scratch your head, kind of like I did, and go, wait a second, something's not adding the fuck up here. So, and then, like I had mentioned in the abortion video I think that I had done, it's like, how do you, and this might sound kind of stupid, but it's like, how do you actually define what a human being is? Okay, so how is it that this fetus is okay to be aborted 2 days before it's born, but not 2 days after? Like, where's that delineation? With all the genetic differences from person to person, obviously a horse and a person are not to be confused, but correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen very many people come up with, or anybody actually, come up with a completely infallible definition of what it is to be human. So it's like, why are you going to use or attempt to use the argument that just because it's not fully formed or independent that now you can fucking kill it? Like, does that not? And I always notice people that, I swear to fucking God, the correlation between people who are from single parent homes, let's say, who are also okay with abortion, it's like, dude, they tend to be the ones that are most in favor of this. So it's like, okay, are these single moms out here kind of telegraphing to their kids that they never wanted them to be born and that sort of thing, which I think obviously is extraordinarily sick, but that's where we're at. That is, and when you really, abortion aside, zoom out and think about it, it's like, you hear all these people who are like, oh, if you're not going out and getting laid, you're some kind of fucking loser. At least if you're a guy, I guess now if you're a gal, because we're both the same, men and women are the same. But it's like, when you think about the fact that one night of fucking around irresponsibly sexually can literally destroy someone else's life that didn't even choose to be there, it just makes no sense to me that you can then sit there and keep banging on about promiscuous sex and all this other crap. and I see a lot of, especially libertarians, I don't know if they think that everybody is as high IQ as they are, or what the fuck's going through their heads, if it's this laissez-faire, it's really just do whatever the hell you want thing. But it's like, you know, the incident, go out in the real world and meet some fucking people and get an idea of how fucking stupid these people are, okay? They need, like I said, clear consequences to their idiot actions, backed up by a culture that makes sense, or I guess a culture in our case that actually exists. So it's just the selfishness we see. And again, I'm not fucking perfect, you're not fucking perfect, but correct me if I'm wrong, you and I aren't bringing lives into this world that we then snuff out because we wanted to have 15 minutes if we're if we're lucky of pleasure. You know, so the selfishness that we see in the West, the decadence, the debauchery, it's staggering, you know. It is just absolutely fucking staggering. I saw a lot of technical stuff about how Roe versus Wade, it's like, it's not an outright ban. So Roe versus Wade, it just doesn't even matter. You know, these people, they just screech and and go ape shit and bananas, and it's like, dude, it's like you don't know what the fuck to tell them. It's like everything is so fucked up and weird right now that, to me, like I said, I view this as a great thing, because it's like, okay, now there's a message out there that says, listen, don't abort your kids. And it's like, hey, if you want to have promiscuous sex, go right ahead. I guess. I think it's fucked up in a lot of ways. But, you know, just do something simple. Get an IUD. Use a condom. Make sure whoever you're fucking isn't a total jackass. I don't know. Maybe that's above the bar for a lot of the folks out there. So it's like, moving on to a separate point, you hear shouted from the fucking rooftops, my body, my choice. Well, do I need to point out the obvious contradiction between my body, my choice and how rabid the left is about vaccines? You know, it's so, and this is why people tend to say the left is like loosely feminine, because it's like they want all of the, like they want private profits and public expenses. So they get to benefit from the profits, but the public gets to take the expense from their, you know, fuck ups. Kind of like corporate America, I guess, in a lot of ways. So it's like, but then to zoom out even more, why does that, you know, you labor with your body. So the money you produce is produced by your body. Literally, I don't care if you're clattering away on a keyboard, you're still using your fingers to interact physically with the machine. You know, that's your body. So why is it not your choice where your money goes? You know, you got how much of a percent of it ripped out of your fucking pocket to go fund who knows what the fuck. And these people want to sit here and talk about my body, my choice. Yeah, I guess when it's convenient. But I mean, in that vein, I probably shouldn't shit on the left too much, because the mainstream right's a crock of shit too. So, but or another big one is the draft. Well, men aren't parasites, certainly, any more so than the other gender that exists in the society on paper, at least. So, why is it that they're not allowed to choose what it is they do with their bodies? I had to sign up for the selective service. Thank fuck I didn't get called to war. Maybe I think I still could. I don't know if I'm too old yet. I don't know. But it's like, dude, what, you know, there's just no logical thought. It's just all like, we'll use logic to say, oh, well, it's a parasite, it can't survive on its own, therefore it's okay to, you know, cut into pieces and then sell to fucking who knows what for baby eating Satanists. I don't know what the fuck. But, so yeah, there's just a lot of issues with the whole my body, my choice thing. I think with the vaccine being the biggest contradiction of that. Maybe there's something to be said. I know this dipshit philosophy professor I had at St. Clair County Community College, I think his name was Jim Soto, total fucking retard. But he talked about how, you know, you can't live in this fist-swinging society where, you know, your freedom has to stop or you damage somebody else. And again, that's another example of people choosing the most convenient way for that to support their beliefs. So you might be able to say, okay, yeah, well, you know, you're not allowed to just not get a fucking vaccine because you might transmit COVID to me. You know, never mind that, you know, it's 99.7% chance you survive. But it's like, you're not allowed to do that because you might hurt me. Well, if that's what you're going to say, then why don't you say you can't abort the fetus because you're going to hurt it? You know, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But, and then this kind of ties into what I was saying earlier with, you know, with the, how many stages of fuck-ups do you have to excuse and expect women to be committing before it just gets fucking ridiculous. So you got to be interacting with the guy. You got to be in rapport with the guy, generally. You got to be in a, like, I know there's freaks and shit that go around and just fuck each other in bus stops and phone booths and public parks and all sorts of goofy bullshit. But I don't think most people do that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it's like, so you've got to be, the interaction, the presence, the situation, this, that, it's like so many fucking, and then after those three things where you're in a position where you're okay to be fucking somebody in the first place, then you gotta not be on birth control or using it incorrectly. It's like, like how, it's just staggering how fucking stupid you can be and then still bang on about how you're strong, independent, don't need no man-fish bicycle when you're so fucking stupid you can't even see 10 seconds down the road as to what's going to happen as a result of the idiotic decisions you're making that not only affect you, but will also affect somebody who didn't even choose to be there. Like, I know there's probably some women that sit there and they don't give a shit that they snuffed out a baby, a baby literally, but I'm pretty sure getting an abortion for the majority of gals, it's got to fuck them up in the head somehow. I think never mind. But it's like, dude, and then it's like you don't even have to do that. And then if you're a woman, it puts you in a strategically poor position if you're having sex outside of marriage in general anyway. So it's like, it does not compute. But I suppose this is humanity, right? Nothing's supposed to make sense because people are fucking worthless. So again, to bring it back, like you don't have to be out there having sex. Now I get today, if you're a woman, it's gotta be something of a Herculean feat to not, like I'm trying to imagine if I woke up and every morning, at least if I was average or above, maybe less than average, I don't know, or without even starting a fucking dating profile where, you know, you open your Facebook messages, your Instagram, and there's all these simp retards talking about how this, that, you know, all that in a bag of chips, these needs. Like I'm sitting here thinking like, man, if I had that many gals hitting me up for some dick, would I just be able to bat it all away? Probably not. But that's why fathers are very important. But you see how it becomes this degenerative cycle where first we introduce the welfare state, then we have this cascade of children that are born without fathers, and it brings in this whole issue of, now it's like a negative feedback or a positive feedback loop until the whole system collapses, whatever. So, and it's, I don't know what the hell I was thinking here, but I'll say it anyway. I said abortion is not specifically a woman's issue because male fetuses are aborted just as often as female ones. We'll just move on from that. Yeah, and then the other thing is that tying back to how I used to think abortion should be illegal because of a consequence of the anarcho-capitalism, yada yada. Well, it's like, to extrapolate that to its logical conclusion, I would also have to agree with the contention that the state shouldn't be in the business of regulating murder, which as an anarcho-capitalist, they shouldn't be. But again, this, you know, that's a separate video. So it's like, you know, if we're going to have a night watch state or try and have a government that existed as the way the U.S. was intended to function, where it's very small and limited to protect life, liberty, and property, well, what is a fetus but life? So it's like even under the smallest of government scenarios, you're going to have a situation where the state's going to be in the business of protecting that fetus because it is life. It is a separate body. Just because it needs you to live doesn't mean you can fucking kill it. Okay? So that's that. Now, I haven't thought about this in too much of detail. It makes sense to me when I think about it, but if the fetus, you know, if it's like an ectopic pregnancy or something like that, okay, that, you know, if fetus and mom are going to die, might as well get rid of the fetus because if not, they're both fucking dead anyway. So that kind of makes sense to me there. Rape and incest, that's I don't know, because it's like, again, the kid didn't choose to be there. It's not, so whether it's incestuous or rape, it's like still that, you know, the fetus, it's a literal third party that didn't, you know, want to be there. I think incest is probably a better example because that would be much more, I would think, likely to happen than just random ass rapes. They try to troll out the whole rape thing. I mean, it does happen, but it's like with the dumpster and the Swedish guy on the bicycle that caught him or something rather. It's like, you know, I forgot what the hell the woman's name was, but if you go out and get drunk and you pass out, what the fuck? Like, dude, if I go get drunk somewhere and I pass out, I'm gonna be missing my phone. I'm gonna be missing my wallet. I'm gonna be missing a lot of shit because when you leave something of value up for grabs, people are gonna fucking take it. We already covered how worthless and fucking conniving and stupid and fucked up people are. So guess what? You're a woman, you're an item of value. You're coveted by a lot of people. So the whole incest thing, I mean, that's unfortunately, I would think probably more common than just like random ass rapes. But it's like, you know, in the case of either of those combined, we're talking about shit that's so far out there. It's like, why even, we don't use exceptions to pick general rules to happen. And I feel like what happens a lot of times in abortion discussions is that people will start losing the debate, and they'll use rape victims and victims of incest as like cannon fodder almost to throw to the person that's, well, now what are you gonna do? Now you gotta step on rape victims and incest victims and shit. So again, if you're on the left, not to say the right's perfect, but there tends to be this demonic, vicious element of like baby-eating Satanists, I guess. You probably know what I'm saying. But it's like, I just don't think that, you know, that's certainly a special area where, you know, situations and things need to be considered. I'm not trying to say that I'm the final arbiter of fucking decisions on this, but in general, yeah, it's a good thing that abortion or access to abortion has been restricted in Texas. I think overall it would, it's good for society to move in that direction. So yeah, hopefully y'all found this interesting. So definitely gonna have to give some thought to the whole incest and abortion part of it, but it's like, you know, why are you going to use the exception to the rule as a way to get around it for everybody else, you know? So, but yeah, totally interested in what anybody and everybody's got to say down below. Don't forget to check me out on, I got an Odyssey too, so, you know, BitChute, Odyssey, all this other shit. So thanks guys, I'll have some more coming up for you.